ramps into powerful planeswalkers.
Now, McDarby has something I like to call the McDarby curse. Every time we've had him on camera, as far as I remember, he hasn't just lost. He has been annihilated.
It has been a massacre.
Yeah.
Every time we've had this deck on camera.
Or him, just him on camera. He just gets absolutely annihilated, and I don't want that to be the case for David. I love David McDarby. Commander versus video maker, really good article. Wrote the article about Dak Faden, is that the name of that planeswalker?
Yep.
The planeswalker of the multiverse?
And overall good man.
Yes.
I like David quite a bit. Also, from the Knoxville area, a University of Tennessee graduate.
Went to school here.
Yeah.
Very familiar with the area. Told us where to get gelato yesterday, and he was right.
It was delicious.
And nutritious.
Well, not so much the second thing.
What? You sure about that?
I don't know where cookies land in the food pyramid, but I'm pretty sure they are not there.
Depends on your food pyramid. I designed my own. Here's a Cabal Therapy. This is not only is this a Death and Taxes, this is a nice Death and Taxes deck. You see the swords, Phyrexian Revoker, Sarah Avenger, and it looks like actually, wow, the new guy, Aegis of the Gods, 4 of them.
Wow, okay.
Along with Karakas and Wasteland. So the problem here for Mr. Embry is there is only 1 white mana in Karakas and then another copy of Wasteland. So the deal with Death and Taxes we saw last week and in the hands of Pierre Nystrom is just to mess with people, deny them, stop them from being able to do things, and kill them eventually.
David McDarby's deck is flush with removal, which will be very helpful in this matchup. 4 copies of Innocent Blood and 4 copies of Pernicious Deed.
Ooh,
one of the
wow.
worst cards for Death and Taxes to play against.
You wonder if Embry is going to know to name that with Revoker. How familiar is he with what he's playing against?
Well, basic Swamp, Bayou, and Cabal Therapy usually means some sort of mid-range value deck. So.
Yeah, it could mean a couple different things in Legacy. Could mean a Lurin.
That is true. Could mean a Lurin.
Looks like McDarby has a couple copies of Hymn to Torak in the hand, too. Jeez. See if he has another Swamp to set that up.
It appears that he has an Island and some Brainstorms, but...
Oh, it's time to go brainstorming. So 3 cards coming, a Bayou, a Misty Rainforest, and a Jace the Mind Sculptor.
So this leads to some pretty powerful sequencing here. He can go Liliana into Jace or just start hitting Brian. A lot of options.
Couple cards going back, that's 1. That's 2. Now you have McDarby's deck list in front of you. What kind of cards has he got going on here? I know you mentioned, some of the removal and Pernicious Deed and Innocent Blood.
So it's 1 Baleful Strix and 4 Veteran Explorers. Veteran Explorers are just a mana wrapping option.
Okay.
4 Jace the Mind Sculptor, 3 Liliana Veil, 2 Karn Liberated, 4 Deed, 4 Blood, 4 Cabal Therapy, 3 Hymn to Torak, 4 Gataxian Probe, 4 Brainstorm, and a Ponder.
All right. Pretty sweet. You see Aegis of the Gods come into play. You have Hexproof. That means you cannot be Hymn to Torak.
Yes.
Sorry, try again.
Or hit with Liliana.
Try again. We had a feeling this card might make some impact here in Legacy. It seemed like a card that you might see 2 or 3 copies of, but Embry with the full 4 in the main deck. Kind of sweet, actually.
Definitely potent against discard and Liliana Veil, that's for sure.
Time to brainstorm yet again here, McDarby. He found himself an Innocent Blood along with the Pernicious Deed. Those are tools that are really good in this matchup.
Now, Innocent Blood totally circumvents this card because it does not target.
Each player.
Yep, it's an each.
Time to put 2 cards back and presumably shuffle some away. At least hopefully for David. You see 2 hymns here. Looks like he might put the powerful discard spell away.
Doesn't seem like it's going to be shaping up to be that kind of game.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Darby going to play himself Misty Rainforest and just pass the turn back over to Embry, who will draw a card. Does have a basic plains now. Going to put that into play. Let's see what the follow-up's going to be. A Phyrexian Revoker. Well, let's see what he wants to name here with this in just a moment.
A lot of names.
I'm going to go with Liliana the Veil. And again, I'm not too surprised to not see him name Pernicious Deed. I think what happens with Pernicious Deed in this format, especially against Revoker, is you get blown out by Pernicious Deed, and then you're like, oh yeah, Revoker that.
Yep.
Every time afterward.
You remember after the fact that it's a thing that can happen to you.
Because it's just not a card that sees a lot of play in Legacy, as McDarby's going to sacrifice the Misty Rainforest, consult his hand, and figure out what he wants to search for. A lot of basics in this deck, of course. 4 Veteran Explorer, 2 Islands, 3 Swamps, a Forest.
This game is definitely shaping up to be one of those Pernicious Deed games.
Kaboom. Oh, look at McDarby with the Guru lands. I'm so jealous. Those are my favorites. Gonna go get Nyland.
I've come around on them. I used to not like them, and now I'm...
How could you not like those?
I thought it was a little too... It felt trying too hard to me, but the artwork's just kind of nice on them, so... I've come around.
You are just generally absurd. Those are the most beautiful lands in Magic. It's not even close. It's not even close. I don't know what kind of mountains you play with. I think they're Alpha or something, or another.
Arabian Nights.
Yeah, excuse me.
Although I have a couple gurus for decks where I'm only playing a couple mountains.
Unacceptable.
The style matters, man.
Your style is weak. Guru lands is where it's at. All right, I apologize. That was
simply not true.
That was a little unnecessary, and I'm sorry. Is it deed time? It is deed time.
I like the deed here. Neither one of his planeswalkers is very good currently. Jason the Mind Sculptor, if David were to unsummon, Brian could still kill it with the leftover 2/1. Liliana, of course, Revoker set to it, and there's an Aegis of the Gods in play regardless. So you do risk another Revoker blowing this whole sequence up, but the upside is enormous.
Indeed, you do see that. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with a converted mana cost X or less. So what's kind of unique about that card is that the interaction with Planeswalkers is actually favorable for McDarby.
Yeah, Pernicious Deed was not backwards templated. A lot of cards along these lines now say non-land permanents, but at the time they were laundry listing. Same thing with Show and Tell. You can't Show and Tell on Planeswalkers. Little templating lesson for all of you.
You teach them, game designer.
Aspiring game designer / editors.
See, a port's going to tap down a mana here. We'll see if McDarby wants to maybe activate this Pernicious Deed in response. There's the possibility of that. You see his hand, he's got the Innocent Blood along with the Jason. Looks like he's going to blow the deed for 2. So get this out of here. And don't forget that vial as well. Take that with you. And this is in the upkeep of McDarby's turn, so he will take a draw. Picks up another copy of Hypnotorque, even though he put 2 back with the Brainstorm. That's kind of ironic. To say the least.
The port's going to cause a lot of problems for McDarby this game, potentially. Now, Brian can't leverage this advantage just yet. He doesn't have an Aether Vial in play, nor does he have a 4th land to start casting things, so he gets the option of either porting or advancing his board. But for the while, for as long as he wants to be using this Rashad and port, David's going to struggle to cast his spells efficiently.
Just going to pass the turn back. Looks like we're going to go porting most likely. Also did pick up a copy of Aven Mind Sensor, so Embry has the ability to just play that on the end step, but he's going to go, looks like maybe not. Just going to go with Aegis of the Gods again. McDarby going to draw a card, hoping for a land, picks up a copy of Innocent Blood, so can just cast that, get the Aegis out of here.
Yeah, Innocent Blood's not shabby here.
Just pass the turn back. Again, McDarby's creatures are 4 Veteran Explorers and a Baleful Strix, so able to take advantage of Innocent Blood.
Innocent Blood's just an underplayed card in general. It's very good at answering Trinity Nemesis or just early tempo plays like Noble Mongoose and Delver of Secrets.
McDarby picks up a Swamp for the turn. You see Embry is not actually going to tap anything with the port. Wants to be able to cast Aven Mind Sensor and get a body onto the table. However, this will allow McDarby to actually cast Jace the Mind Sculptor if he'd like, or fire off a Hypnotorque.
And David trying to just figure out exactly what's going on. There's a really good chance that the play here is Aven Mind Sensor, in which case playing Jace is just great. David gets to Brainstorm if he wants to, and doesn't have to worry about the Jace just dying from a single Aven Mind Sensor hit.
Hard to say no to a Brainstorm here. Going to put back those 2 Hypnotorques, which you can't seem to get away from. Here comes the Mind Sensor. The 2/1 Flash Flyer. That makes searching your deck pretty tough. Comes on the end step, and as Embry is going to draw a copy of Stoneforge Mystic. And in for 2 we go. Down Jace goes to 1.
And again, Brian now still having to decide if he wants to be porting or he wants to advance his board. It's tough both ways. Now that you've allowed David to brainstorm, the floodgates are kind of starting to open on his resources, but you have to be worried that you're walking into additional removal spells, maybe another Pernicious Deed. Brian is now in between a rock and a hard place.
Sarah Avenger going to come down. McDarby going to do some brainstorming here. You see he picks up a Hymn, a Forest, and a Liliana of the Veil. Going to have to put 2 of these cards back. No fetch land to clear things away. There's a decent chance that McDarby may lose the Jace here, but that'll take a little bit of pressure off of his life total.
David's at 12 with a lot of resources to work with, so he doesn't necessarily need this Jace. Of course he would prefer to keep it. You see he has a backup Jace as well. It's more about keeping the board stable. From there he can win almost at his leisure.
I believe McDarby looking for another black source so he could fire off Liliana and Innocent Blood this turn. Don't think he's going to be able to do both. So here is just an Innocent Blood. Decisions. Wow, gonna sacrifice that one. Here's a Baleful Strix. Time to draw a card. There's him to Torek again. Does he play the Forest? And he will. And just pass the turn back. Over to Embry, who will untap. Take a draw. This forces Embry to have a source of Plowshares here.
Which Brian does, but this is all still part of some of an overall plan here of just exhausting Brian's resources.
Absolutely. The Mind Sensor can finish off the Jace, which it will do, and now Embry's going to cast another spell, and that is a Stoneforge Mystic. So that's going to go searching here. But the main thing here is that Embry hasn't been able to really stop McDarby from doing its thing. He hasn't put him in kind of, the multiple soft locks that Death and Taxes put people in.
Yeah, David's able to cast his stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really dangerous for Brian because David's got a lot of powerful stuff to cast.
He's just trying, Death and Taxes is trying to constrict the deck like this the entire time. And he was able to do that a little bit here, but not enough, I don't think.
The problem now is that once he's abandoned the Rashad board for one turn, he's almost forced to abandon it for the near future. And he just has to hope that David doesn't have the tools to capitalize on it. But David's deck, again, flush with a lot of really powerful cards.
Time to go brainstorm. Verdant Catacombs, a Gitaxian Probe, and a Cabal Therapy. Oh, the synergy.
That's a combo, again.
With a C.
Because you get to see what's in their hand, and then, well, whatever.
Oh.
You named that with Cabal.
Yes, thank you. There it is, the best card in Legacy, Gitaxian Probe.
Gitaxian Probe, Cabal Therapy, Baleful Strix, Veteran Explorer. It's just, there's a lot to like there. There's a lot to like.
Brainstorm gonna finish resolving. McDarby keeps messing around with those hymns. I'm sure he wants to cast them, but he eventually keeps putting them back with either a Jace Brainstorm or a regular one.
I think he'll be happy to cast one somewhere down the line.
Eventually, I think one will get cast. We're not quite sure when, but eventually. See what he's gonna try to put down now. Could be time for Liliana, perhaps. Looks like it is. Are we gonna minus that or plus it, or what do we want to do? Looks like a minus. Pick a creature to sacrifice Brian.
Just trying to use his planeswalkers as removal spells and pieces of value, buying time and exhausting all of Brian's resources.
Yeah, they're almost like removal spell fogs at this point. Looks like we're gonna cast Gitaxian Probe, see what you're working with. He knows about the equipment. 2 swords, a Stoneforge, and a Jite. He's almost exhausted all the resources here.
Yeah, he's pretty close.
That's all he's really trying to do. So Probe will draw him, and we know that. And McDarby has not played a land yet. He has to decide if he wants to play Verdant Catacombs or not. Of course, Verdant Catacombs isn't great in this situation because of the Mind Sensor, so he has to look at the top 4 and see if he can hit. McDarby waiting patiently. 3, 4, no good. But I think actually what's kind of important here is that he clears it up.
Yeah, it was just, you can tell he was almost just looking to shuffle there. If he hits a land there and gets to cast the therapy, I'm sure David's thrilled, but he wasn't doing that super recklessly. I think he's happy to shuffle away that hymn regardless.
And they'll just pass the turn back. So the other thing too is, yeah, he's able to finally get rid of one of those hymns, which has obviously been a problem for him in this game, as those have stunk up to this point. Embry gonna draw a card. This looks like another copy of Aether Vial. Not the best draw for him at this point.
And is Brian willing to commit something like Stoneforge Mystic to the board? It's pretty attractive to be porting David right now. He has a board of 2 islands, 2 swamps, and a forest. You can keep him off of green, or his ability to cast Liliana, or his ability to cast Jace.
Yeah.
But can you win this game by just attacking for 2 and porting David? Probably not. So trying to figure out this balancing act is a big challenge for Brian in this game.
Also, that feels kind of like a guessing game, right? Do I tap the blue or do I tap the black? Or do I tap the green?
Oh, it's definitely a guessing game.
Mind Sensor, go ahead and finish off that Liliana. We know you want to.
I think Brian might be looking at these 2 plows in his hand and saying, I'm happy to play some symmetrical discard with you.
All right, well, that's exactly what he's going to do. McDarby goes down to 10. See if Brian wants to deploy the Stoneforge Mystic now. Looks like he's happy deploying the Vial. Going to use the port to do that. Yeah, it leads me to believe we're going to see a Mystic now too, and we will. So that's going to search a bit of equipment. It'll likely be Batterskull.
Another opportunity now for David to try to break out of this board.
Yeah, a Pernicious Deed would probably be his best draw at this point.
Deed would be mighty fine.
See if McDarby's able to find, draws a card. Another copy of Liliana. Has Jace. It's not so bad.
Liliana's not shabby here either.
Also a Therapy. Knows some of the cards. Can get rid of the swords. It's a player with a lot of options. Also, actually, he knows all the contents of Embry's hand. 2 swords, both equipment.
Yeah.
And the Stoneforges.
And the Vial was the draw.
Yeah.
So he has it all.
He's working on perfect information. What does he want to do with that information is the question. Therapy is where he's going to begin. And he says, Batterskull, you can kindly leave.
This is a good setup here, as David can potentially unsummon the Aven Mind Sensor and plus the Liliana. And then Brian rather can't kill either Planeswalker next turn. He's going to face heal himself instead, which is also fine. But David now with a lot of options. I thought he was going to bounce the Mind Sensor potentially, plus Liliana, and then leave himself with 2 Planeswalkers at 2 loyalty against just the 1 power Stoneforge Mystic.
Doing a discard of him. Good place for that card to go since it has done nothing.
And there's 2 Swords of Plowshares in Brian's hand still, so.
Yeah. Vial ticks up to 1. And Brian draws a card for the turn. See if he finds anything he likes. We know about the Jite, we know about the swords. Now we're going to see an attack. McDarby ready to lose the Liliana. Maybe inducing a little bit here. Stoneforge deciding where it wants to go. And it says it's going to go upstairs. McDarby's going to go down to 9 here. Follow-up is the Jite. And just going to pass the turn back over to David, who will draw a card. Veteran Explorer.
And it feels like David's now really breaking out. I mean, he's going to have access to Jace. He has multiple Lilianas in his hand, so he can afford to just play just a card advantage attrition game. You see him pick up a copy of Innocent Blood. He's really got all the pieces.
Yeah, also has a Karn that he's going to put back.
No, you need to cast that, though.
Not yet. It's not time yet.
David!
It's not time, trust me.
You need to get the trifecta into play.
I know a lot about Karn.
Jace, Liliana. That's the trifecta.
That's the ultimate submission hold. This is the Veteran Explorer.
I hate feeling like I'm supposed to intervene and stop a match in progress. Come on. Now, David is down to only 1 basic land in his deck.
Yep. And again, because Mind Sensor's in the way, he doesn't get to search. Looks like we're going to cast Innocent Blood. In response, going to Swords that. So going to gain a life. Innocent Blood's going to take care of the Stoneforge. Now you see a hand of 2 copies of Liliana Veil. Again, all that McDarby's trying to do here is just exhaust the resources.
Yep.
That's really it. Going to tick Vial up to 2. Take a draw, will Embry.
And David's not really doing anything terribly synergistic right now. He's just blanking the Swords of Plowshares that Brian has access to.
Pretty much.
And using Planeswalkers.
Yeah. Gonna equip. Just grinding him down. Which is normally what Death and Taxes does. And they're the deck that grinds you down.
But not like, I mean, this is an all different sort of grind.
Oh, yeah. Mind Sensor, where are you going? It looks like it's going to McDarby. Down to 8.
I think Brian is taking the opinion that trying to fight David over these Planeswalkers is just not going to happen.
McDarby draws a Jace for the turn. 2 going with the Jace in play and the 2 Lilianas in the grip. Maybe it's time for unsummon mode? We'll see.
I can get down on unsummoning the Mother of Runes and then taking away the Mind Sensor.
Turn my deck back on.
Yep. And Brian's Vial is set to 2, so there's no risk of the Mother of Runes coming right back out. Now you get to have this flexibility in play.
That's going to go up to 3, it looks like. And it does. And we're going to draw a card. It's a copy of Rashad and Port. Things are starting to get tough for Brian now.
Yeah. It's not that these ports are bad, but it's just, what's the long-term plan here?
Yeah, Planeswalkers are finally starting to take over.
I suppose the long-term plan is eventually draw a powerful 3-mana creature, Violet into play, put Jite on it, and try to kill in roughly one shot.
Yeah. See, Brian looks like he wants to maybe equip or maybe leave Port up. He has another Port in his hand to go along with the swords. He's trying to figure out what he can do, but again, you have to know that Mother of Runes is going to go back to the grip, and now Brian's kind of given away that he has a land in his hand. It's almost like he should play it now just because he's giving away the information. He's just going to pass the turn back. McDarby going to take a draw here. There is Karn liberated. Jace going to draw a couple of cards. Another Karn. Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
All right, now I'm starting to settle in here.
Yeah. I think it may be appropriate to discard one of these to Liliana the Veil.
Nope. Nope. No interest in that.
Not claiming any expertise with this deck, but the second Karn feels low value to me.
I respectfully disagree. McDarby going to put 2 cards back. Karn among them. Has found all 6 basics. 3 swamps, 2 islands, and a forest. Gonna take up Liliana. Gonna no.
He still got the backup. He still got the backup.
Discards the best planeswalker of all time.
Well, Karns are on diminishing returns, in fairness.
Liliana gonna replace itself. Take care of the Mother of Runes. Swamp, and then it's passing the turn back. Embry just draws a card and passes. Jace gonna brainstorm. 2, 3. Oh yes.
That's why you need to port.
Oh yes.
I know it doesn't seem like you're keeping off anything, but now this is happening. Now this is happening.
The water is warm, and he is not impressed.
The trifecta. It's gonna happen.
Don't make me wait any longer, McDarby. Oh yes. Oh yes. There he is. In his rightful place, in play, ready to dominate.
No Urzatron pieces here, folks. Just some basic lands in the underground sea.
Good, honest magic with 3 planeswalkers. Elevator going up to 10. He says, I don't get to see them both. You choose one, and I get it forever. Thanks for the Crocus. I already knew about the swords anyway. Liliana going to tick up. There goes a brainstorm. This is a good clean limit right here for David.
Brian is going to go into the tank this turn. I do not believe he's going to find a way out of this one.
It's time to brainstorm. Cabal Therapy, Pernicious Deed among the cards.
Delicious.
I think I found my new legacy deck. There's a Misty, there's a Deed. Hey, Deed with the, yep, with the plane. Wow, with the Planeswalkers. Get that out of here. Yeah, keep that. Yeah, he says that is that's got to go. He's going to Mangaro it back to the grip. Crocus it back. So take a draw here, Will Embry. He's going to play a Plains.
So now, David can exile the Caracas.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not David, it's Karn that will be exiling the Crocus, by the way. It's a staring contest. Karn, gonna go after.
Get that Caracas.
It's gonna go after Mangara, and then we're gonna see a deed activation response. Gonna kill everything.
Okay, this is fine, I guess.
And that's gonna do it. All it took was Jason, Liana, and Karn, but the Super Friends get the job done.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we really needed the third Planeswalker, and it sounds kind of sarcastic, but not really. That was what finally did it. And Jason and Liliana together were keeping David's head above water, and then Karn finally sealed the deal.
Sideboard time. Actually, I've got Brian's in front of me. Ooh, a really heavy Enlightened Tutor package. Wow. 4 Enlightened Tutors, 2 Rest in Peace, a Helm of Obedience, and Snaring Bridge, a Manriki Gusari, a Grafdigger's Cage, 2 copies of True Believer, 2 Ethers, 1 Candace, and a Batterskull. Interestingly enough, with 4 Aegis of the Gods and 2 True Believers, Brian is a big fan of actually giving himself hexproof.
Yeah, which is not a bad strategy for this deck. Most of the time that someone's fighting you, it's with Liliana the Veil. That's the most common thing. Also helps, probably some number of combo matchups to have those kind of hexproof effects, so makes sense. I mean, a lot of the bears are just interchangeable, so why not?
I'm not really entirely sure what would come in here. The Enlightened Tutor package seems okay. I think we're going to see much different use of Phyrexian Revoker this game, that's for sure. Outside of that, Rest in Peace doesn't really have much of an effect. Helm of Obedience, not so much. Bridge, Manriki, Grafdiggers, not so much. Man, not a lot of options here for Brian. Unfortunately for him, I don't expect people to plan to play against the old Planeswalker strategy, however.
I guess he could go to Rest in Peace Helm. That's not a bad...
It's not the worst thing.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. On David's side here, 2 Surgical Extraction, 4 Force Will, Negate, 2 Vendilion Click, 2 Notion Thief, 2 Fluster Storm, 2 copies of Ensnaring Bridge. Nothing really stands out to me except for the Ensnaring Bridges, which are fine against Death and Taxes, although most builds have Flicker Wisp to break out of it. Brian's build does not have Flicker Wisp. Just the 1 copy of Mangara looks like to break out. So Ensnaring Bridge is a huge problem for the way that Brian's constructed his deck. I definitely expect those to come in, and it's possible that the discard's pretty poor against Brian, especially since you've seen all these, the player gain hexproof effects. So you may see something like Force of Will come in, even though it's not great in this matchup, just because the discard seems so poor.
Well, we will see how things do go between these 2 players. That was fun to watch the first game, all kidding aside. This Veteran Planeswalkers deck is really, really cool. It's much different. Death and Taxes are going to try to stop it from doing what it does. Unable to do that game, though.
Yeah.
See if we can get a Veteran Explorer draw out here.
Veteran Explorer is a little dangerous against decks that also have their own basic lands. You're ideally playing it against Delver decks that have nothing to go get, but it's still better for David than it is for Brian, because Brian is just casting, the most powerful card in his deck is Vermaz, and the most powerful card in David's is Karn. So the warfare is asymmetrical, but it's still a little risky to be using Veteran Explorer against decks that also have basic lands.
And a lot of them. So there is that. McDarby. Commander versus... He loves playing some Magic. Kind of crazy, actually. We talked to him yesterday on our way out. He's only been playing Magic since Zendikar. That's crazy.
Especially given how much, creativity he clearly brings to the table, both with his work on Commander and this deck, for example. I would have just assumed that David was around the game for 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, he said the first pack he opened a Lotus Cobra, which sets a nice precedent.
That's pretty lucky.
For your pack opening ability.
Yeah.
However, you've been playing Magic, I think, you said almost 20?
Yeah, Revise / The Dark were my first sets.
And I've been playing Magic since I was 11. I'm 28. Carry the 2.
Do you remember your first rare?
The only thing I remember is Woolly Mammoth.
Okay.
It's all blur from there.
All right, sure.
There's a Woolly Mammoth, there's a Woolly Spider, there's a giant Trapdoor Spider.
That card was really powerful.
I'm also very...
Pro Tour winning card.
I'm scared of spiders, so I just kept opening these giant, horrific creatures. I didn't know how I kept playing. I remember the first awesome card I got. My dad got me a box of Weatherlight. Thanks, Dad. It's just not a good set, but that's okay. It's a gesture that we care about. I got a Grinning Totem. No, Grinning Totem wasn't from that set.
I think it's from Mirage.
I think it's from Mirage. I know that I got there's like a Lotus Veil. I think that's one of the lands.
Oh, yeah. And the Blasted Land, the 4-mana one. There's the Black Lotus land and the 4 colorless land that were rares.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not the best card when 4X strip mine is in every deck.
Yeah, not so good.
The designs are fun. They're totally fun cards. You can play them with Ladrid and stuff like that. But
I remember I got a Grinning Totem, and that card was worth like a bunch. I think I traded it for a Shivan Dragon.
I'm trying to think what were the hot cards in Weatherlight when that set came out. I think Bosium's Trip was really popular.
Okay.
Other than that, there weren't a lot of hits.
Yeah. I don't remember too much about the Weatherlight box. I just remember I was super happy to have it, and I was just busting cards.
I remember losing to all sorts of Eugene Harvey built circling vultures, hidden horror, graveyard matters decks where I could not comprehend the interactions he was bringing to the table.
Yeah.
This set the stage for Dredge some number of years down the line.
My first playing of Magic, it was with my best friend and our like mutual best friend who we used to all play like video games together. And we had a rule: we would have just like super big decks, and there was no attacking for an hour. That's the rule.
That's a great rule.
And then after the hour's up, you can do whatever you want. So I had a bunch of blue cards, and my friend would cast like Demonic Tutor, and I would like copy it somehow, and he's just like, all right, I'm attacking you first. So I made him really mad.
Oh, we played all sorts of games along those lines.
I also never won Mother of Runes to start things off here for Embry.
Look at Brian, not to be outdone by David's basic lands, bringing his own Guru planes to the table.
Better
Very
believe it.
nice.
Gataxian Probe. Gonna reveal the grip here. Caracas.
Oh, please.
Source of Plowshares, a David Mind Sensor, Enlightened Tutor, and Athalia.
Please have the Cabal Therapy. There's a good chance he sideboarded them out, but I can still keep my fingers crossed.
The 1-2 punch.
Come on, David.
Gonna write it all down. We'll see. He's also gonna draw a card. Oh, the value. There's a Bioheat. Yep.
Oh, snap. He knows what's in his hand now.
What is that called? I think it starts with a C.
Combo.
Yeah. I feel like I'm playing Killer Instinct over here. Jeez.
Wow. That was awesome. Way to go, David.
Might be time to Enlighten Tutor. We'll see. Doesn't take much to impress you, does it?
It takes very little.
Yeah. In comes the Mother of Runes. McDarby going to go down to 17. Take a draw here. Has another Cabal Therapy. Oh, me, oh, my.
God. Wow. Looks like he's a little tight on black mana. He has an Innocent Blood in his hand as well.
Fire away. What are we naming?
Wouldn't surprise me if he named Enlightened Tutor here, just because none of the other cards in Brian's hand are terribly threatening.
If he gets the opportunity. Brian may respond. Looks like McDarby has Ensnaring Bridge in too.
Yeah,
Wow.
David's got a game plan to play towards here.
Definitely
which is just, attrition you out and play a bridge and assume that you can't beat it.
Funny thing too is you wouldn't expect Bridge from this deck.
No.
If you're not familiar with the Veteran Planeswalkers deck, which makes sense, you wouldn't expect Bridge from this deck at all.
Yeah, Veteran Explorer and, Karn and Ensnaring Bridge rarely part of the same deck. But
You want to talk about a combo. And he did take the David Mind Sensor. It caused a lot of trouble in the last game.
yeah, it was a problematic card.
The thing that can actually happen here, however, is that Enlightened Tutor can actually find Aegis of the Gods, and we saw the fact that, if he can't target Embry, it actually kind of ends up being an issue because of Liliana and some other effects that he has in his deck. So Enlightened Tutor on the end step here from Embry. Revoker is also a real juicy target, especially because Mother Runes can protect it. So
Yeah, part of the problem here is by going and getting Aegis of the Gods, and he's going to get Revoker, which I prefer here. If you go get Aegis of God, look at Brian's hand. If David has Pernicious Deed, the game's over. There's no way to compete. So this is a reasonable hedge.
there's your Revoker. That'll be Embry's draw for the turn. And we'll see what he wants to name with that, because a lot of options available. That's for sure. We saw Deed, we saw Jace, we saw Liliana, and we saw Karn. I don't think it'll be the latter.
It seems quite preemptive to be naming Karn here.
It's a little early, perhaps, but Embry wondering how many cards are in McDarby's hand. And we'll get confirmation on the name here in just a moment for you guys at home. And gonna go with Liliana of the Veil yet again.
Makes sense, as David can just curve into it next turn.
Yep.
So
McDarby gonna untap and take a draw. It's a swamp, and Liliana is actually in the grip right now, so that one's not gonna do anything, at least for now. Does have an Innocent Blood, also has a Brainstorm, does McDarby.
yeah, I don't anticipate him casting Liliana this turn when he has access to a play like Brainstorm and Innocent Blood. And he's found Pernicious Deed too, so, and another Innocent Blood. David is just cooking with gas right now.
He's just really good at destroying creature decks, it looks like.
Yeah, I imagine his combo matchup is not great, and if you look at his sideboard, it's almost all dedicated to winning that sort of matchup, but against little creature decks, he seems like he has all the tools.
Well, truth be told, combo hasn't been doing so great recently.
It has not.
And that big part of that is because of the Delver strategies that are running around. There's Innocent Blood. McDarby hasn't played a lane yet, so a little protection here. Gonna sacrifice that, gonna follow this up. Innocent Blood number 2. Get rid of your Evoker, clear your board, pass the turn back. Embry going to draw a card. He's got the swords. He's going to play a port, and he has a Sarah Avenger that he can cast. And if he does cast that, which he will, that one's likely going to die to Liliana the Veil. So McDarby turning the corner much faster in this game than the last one.
Yep.
And there is your 3-mana Planeswalker. That's going to bite the dust. Down to 1 it goes before passing the turn back to Embry, who has a port, a Swords in the Grip, and a Thalia, which he can protect with the Caracas. McDarby will take a draw here in the Snaring Bridge. Card that he did know about.
But it's not clear that David can actually protect his Liliana from this stage. Maybe that doesn't matter to him anymore because the Caracas means that trying to edict Brian again is going to be a challenge, but he's at least getting this far.
4 mana.
I guess he can plus Liliana and get down to 1 card in hand, and then the bridge is good to go.
And he will plus. Of course, the bridge costing 4 because Thalia being in play. Going to discard Brainstorm, pass the turn back. Pernicious Deed, the last card here in McDarby's hand. So Liliana is safe for the moment.
Keeping Deed here is a bit risky because if Brian uses Rashad Port, David can't cast it unless he draws a land. And then if he draws something else he can't cast, then he can't get down to hand size for Ensnaring Bridge. Then things start happening to Liliana, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure if he would have just been better served there keeping Brainstorm, but maybe he respects Brian's ability to get out from under Ensnaring Bridge.
Aegis to the Gods to draw here for Embry. He's going to put that directly into play. McDarby going to follow that up with the Pernicious Deed and playing a Polluted Delta, taking Liliana up, getting him into a very difficult situation.
Now, if Brian was going to cast a creature there instead of using the port, David's play is great. Now he has it all set up.
Yep. Going to make it hard to get out of this. Embry looks like he's going to reach for some mana here.
Yeah, you can tell he knows that he's about to get emptied out.
Yep.
Because David can use Pernicious Deed. Even if Brian returns the Thalia to hand, then David has the option to plus Liliana. It's all bad news for Brian now.
Cataxian Probe, the draw. Nothing to see there. McDarby is going to pay a blue and a colorless for this. See if he finds anything he likes. Picks up a copy of Ensnaring Bridge. That one doesn't matter too much. Can clear out the board here if he'd like with the Deed for 2. Caracas would bounce the Thalia, and then Liliana could take care of it. See if he wants to take that line.
It seems like a pretty commanding board position to be in.
Gets to keep his bridge and his Lily.
Liliana at 4 plus a bridge against an opponent with nothing.
Mm-hmm. And there is a Deed for 2, it looks like, and it is. Caracas going to bounce that. Rest of the stuff going to go bye-bye. Lily going to tick up. Bridge goes away for McDarby. And away goes the Thalia for Embry. Both players empty-handed, pass the turn back, and this is, of course, where Liliana dominates games. And there's Nagus. McDarby draws a card. Cataxian Probe again. Picks up another copy of Liliana. Yep. Yeah, let's see if he wants to take up Liliana here or not. Kind of an awkward situation to be in.
It is a little awkward, yeah.
But take it up he will. Pass the turn back. In a commanding position still. Embry draws a card. And there's a Vial. Time to go port, it looks like.
And it does not look like Brian's list can really get out of this Ensnaring Bridge unless David gets jammed up on cards, which is going to be really hard with Liliana here.
Another copy of Liliana. You're going to pass the turn back, not going to up Liliana this time. Vial goes up to 1. Take a draw here, will Embry.
And Embry's drawn 3 lands and nothing but gas this game, too.
Mm-hmm. Embry's not out of this yet. There's a Thalia. That's the turn back over McDarby. McDarby draws a card, Innocent Blood. Not a bad draw.
Innocent Blood's a really good draw here.
It will cost 2. And you saw Embry point to that already. And Thalia is probably the better one to bite the dust, as Aegis is actually pretty good in this situation. And then Darby will pass the turn back out to Embry. Vial going to go up to 2. There's a Plains off the top, finally drawing his 4th land. Pass the turn back.
And Brian kind of holding on to this Aegis for dear life here, but it's not clear there's any sort of long-term plan.
Cabal Therapy will be discarded over to Liliana. The ultimate is available, but the Aegis needs to go away first as the ultimate does target.
And Brian still needs to be mindful to use this Rashawn port. For example, he hasn't ported in a while, and if David draws, say, Jason the Mind Sculptor, he can cast it. And that Rashawn port can keep David off of right now.
And he does recognize that. He uses it on the Tropical Island. Misty Rainforest to draw. Gonna want to put that one into play. Got to keep that hand size low and be able to have more blue sources of mana. So Misty comes in. And Vial comes in. There's a Burmaz. That one's not going to do too much.
Not the best threat against the Staring Bridge.
Nah, not at all. Bridge really good against Death and Taxes too. They do have ways to clear it out of the way, oftentimes with Flicker Wisp. However, you take a look at Brian's deck list. Don't see any of those this weekend.
Uh-oh.
Do we find something to do?
I think David might have found something to do.
Searching for islands, it looks like it's probably time to sculpt some mines.
Yeah. And I think that Liliana plus Ensnaring Bridge plus Jace Fate Sealing is a pretty reliable path to victory from here.
Super Friends! Gonna start at 3. Will he go up to 5? Or is it time to brainstorm?
Well, brainstorming seems pretty bad when Ensnaring Bridge is your plan. And seeing as though I don't mind the unsummon here. You can try to work a little bit this way.
Yeah, clear some stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
Burmaz. Gonna come back down through a Vial.
Yeah, I think it would have been better served plussing the Liliana there.
Sure, it's either take care of the Aegis or the Burmaz.
Right.
Sure. Helm of Obedience was the draw. Don't know if that one has an effect on the game.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that if I was in David's spot, I would have just started plussing the Jace right away. Brian
Get to work.
Brian he can't shuffle his deck. He's demonstrated basically no ability to get rid of this Ensnaring Bridge. Just try to win the game pretty quickly.
Now this one's a combo with Rest in Peace.
Yes.
But when Rest in Peace isn't in play, how does this one work?
He gets to mill and get a creature, possibly.
Okay. And pass the turn back. Ah, yes, old text.
Put the top card of target player opponent's library into his or her graveyard. Continue doing this until you have put X or a creature card into the graveyard, whichever occurs first. The last card put into the graveyard is a creature card. Bury Helm of Obedience, and that creature. Put that creature into play under your control as though it was just cast. X cannot be equal to 0. So the reason that this is a kill with Helm is because the card never enters the graveyard. So the other, the trigger that causes Helm to stop turning cards over never happens. So he gets to mill David for X, and if he ever hits a creature, then Helm goes away, and he gets David's Baleful Strix or Veteran Explorer.
Gotcha.
Though with Rest in Peace, it's just a kill again.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch.
Right.
McDarby gonna draw a card here. He's got Karn. That's all he needs to finish things up. Here's a Brainstorm. Gonna get a little bit deeper into the deck now. 2 and 3. Veteran Explorer, Deed, and Cabal Therapy are the cards that were drawn.
And the Deed's really powerful here because David's just got to be a little concerned with getting punked out by Rest in Peace right now.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want anything like that to happen. You can control it to some extent with the Jace, but you do not want to lose that way when you are so far ahead and there's under 7 minutes on the clock. Might not have time for a third game.
Absolutely. You gotta expect that Brian didn't bring this Helmet in the dark. That he has the Rest in Peace to pair with it. Now he can play Pernicious Deed with 2 mana up. Does he have enough mana for that? Because that would give him some insurance about getting killed by Rest in Peace, but if Brian has his Rashawn ports available, then it gets tricky. So David just trying to figure out how he wants to navigate this, give himself the maximum insurance against Rest in Peace slipping through here.
Let's take a little look. Enlightened Tutor was a top card. Trying to decide what to do with that. Gonna put it on the bottom. Opens himself up a little bit to getting top decked here, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess if he plays a deed, then he can have it and the ability to break it for 2.
Well, then it becomes a staring contest between the two players.
Sure, but he's okay with that. He never has to move, and the opponent can't move.
Well, that's not true because Brian can port one of David's lands right now.
Ah, sure.
And then Pernicious Deed is no longer an insurance policy.
Lily gonna take up. Both players discard, pass the turn back. Somebody's trying to draw a Rest in Peace. This is actually kind of scary.
Yeah. That's why I'm surprised. I don't know why David necessarily cared about Enlightened Tutor being drawn, because there's no way for Brian to draw cards. And between Liliana plussing and Chase's Fate Seal, you can break up whatever he Enlightened Tutors for the following turn.
I gotcha. Well, it looks like McDarby was able to dodge the bullet there. It's just a vial.
All right, now things are really easy. Now David has total control.
Pass the turn back over McDarby, does Embry. Takes a draw. We know that Karn is still kind of hanging out over there. That's going up. We're going Fate Sealing. McDarby going to put that card to the bottom. Does draw Karn for the turn. No reason to take up Liliana at this point. Can use his deed pretty liberally as well.
Yeah, and Brian's not really using his Rashawn port, so you had to feel like Karn might be good.
Violet goes up to 1. Anything for Embry to do here?
Not a lot to be done, and I think we're just this game's getting to a place where Chase is going to go ultimate.
Takes a draw, Veteran Explorer.
I think that David was hoping that Brian would just start using the Helm to try to just mill him out naturally because the game's going at such a slow pace.
Yeah.
So he said that Veteran Explorer, I think with the hope of Brian using the Helm, but Brian seems fairly committed to only using it in concert with Rest in Peace.
Interestingly enough, he can play a Veteran Explorer, cast this, sacrifice Cabal Therapy, sacrifice it to Cabal Therapy, get 2 basics as they come into play untapped. I think that's actually what he's going to do here. So you see the hand, just Swords of Plowshares. So now McDarby's going to go search his deck for some basics. And he says, this effect is symmetrical, so you can get some planes too if you'd like.
Yep.
McDarby's going to go get a Swamp and a Forest. So the Veteran Explorer here was a small little mana acceleration spell, which will give him the necessary 7 mana. Be able to cast Big Papa Karn.
The third piece of the puzzle, just like last time.
Daddy is home. And he's not in a good mood.
It was a bad day at the office.
Not good. Not good.
Just the boss was on him all day long.
And why?
For no reason,
Yep.
really.
You see both players have black sleeves, so a little bit of confusion on whose deck is who. I've been there before. It can get a little awkward at times. And there is his liberation. The ultimate planeswalker. He says, get that Helm out of here. That's the only way I can lose this game. And here's the Helm activation.
Go get yourself a Strix, maybe.
Now, 7 cards going to get milled here. It looks like a Veteran Explorer. And so he just gets the Veteran Explorer, correct?
Yes, although I believe he was supposed to stop milling after he hit Veteran Explorer.
Okay. It's a pretty confusing card.
Yeah, we've almost never seen this card activated au naturel.
I've never seen it happen. I've been doing coverage for almost 2 years.
So you
never.
pay X and you reveal the top card, and if it's not a creature, you keep going, and if it is a creature, you stop. And once you hit X, so in this case, imagine Brian mills over 7 cards, there's no creatures, then the milling stops. The way it's supposed to work, I believe, is that you just go one at a time, and if a creature ever gets flipped over, you stop helming, the helm goes away, and the controller of helm gets a creature.
Good old Alliance text. I like it. I wouldn't be surprised if we got to get the head judge.
Oh, no, sorry.
If
If the last card put into the graveyard is a creature card. Oh. Continue doing this until you have put X cards or a creature card in that graveyard, whichever occurs first.
Who's going to figure it out first,
Okay.
Patrick or the judge?
Pretty sure he just gets a Veteran Explorer here.
It's a race.
Okay, so the cards do get milled? Who even knows? Whatever. Brian gets a Veteran Explorer, I'm sure is the way this all shakes out. I don't think this is much of a penalty beyond a warning, even if.
So what does this do again? Sure. Oh, alliances. Oh, look at you.
You're milling him for 7 here when he's got Jay's about to go ultimate Karn and Liliana, and you're allowed to buy Ensnaring Bridge.
Anybody's game.
And it's still anyone's
Literally, it's
game.
anyone's game. Anyone could win this game. You see both players kind of explaining exactly what did happen here. We'll get a final ruling on this, of course. Chances are McDarby is going to end up winning this game. You see the time is going to run out on this game. You see a high five between both players as they have essentially crashed Magic Online. That's what they've done here.
Yeah. I wish I could more readily recall my experiences playing at my local shop when I was 15 or 16 years old, when Helm of Obedience was just randomly in people's decks all the time because people thought that milling was just gas. I'm sure I've been helmed, like, not in a combo sense in my life a few times.
Yeah, here comes the head judge now. The red shirt's on the way. This is a delight to watch here.
Yeah. The mixture of old cards and old templating and a situation I'm sure neither of these players have encountered before, which is Helm being activated in the absence of Rest in Peace being in play.
Yeah, the judge will probably just come over and say, "You have Rest in Peace in play, right?" And he goes, "No," and the judge says, forget it, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. So McDarby turned over a bunch of cards here. You see he's going to do it in the exact order of the cards he turned over. And so this is actually just pretty comical how complicated the old templating and old cards are.
Yeah, it is. It is a mess, and you know, it's confusing enough for me, having grown up with these cards, playing them my entire life, and being around Magic for close to 20 years. For someone like David McDarby, who's only started playing during Zendikar, it's incredible to me that he's able to play Legacy with the proficiency that he can.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these cards interact in a very baffling way.
Helm is, it's not on chain of Mephistopheles, but it's close.
Yeah, it's true.
Whenever anyone explains chains to me, they just say, "Don't brainstorm."
Yeah.
That's all I ever say.
You don't brainstorm. How about Sylvan Library? You want to tell me what's going on with that? You want to tell me what's going on with that card?
I do this when now, and how, and when do I pay the life?
Right. And there's a lot of doozies. I mean, those just happen to be the ones that are still powerful enough for tournament level Magic.
Sure.
They are all over the place. Cards are just nonsense.
Charizard, is that one of them? That's the red card I'm thinking of? That's like an anti-card, though.
No, Charizard is not an anti-card.
No?
You just create a sub-game. And then the loser has half their life and they go back to the regular game.
Oh, you do what? You create a sub-game and then what happens?
You play like another game.
Okay.
And then the loser of that game loses half of their life and then you go back to the initial game.
Oh.
Yeah. You know why that design's not really that cool?
Oh, you should explain to me.
Because you can just finish the first game and then play a second game. That's why that design is not cool. That's why that's not not a very good design.
That was Magic in its infancy.
Yes. That is, Charizard, whatever it's called. That's one of the very few cards in Magic that I'm pretty sure has never been played against me in any capacity.
Not when you were starting or anything?
No one ever did this.
Yeah.
I would have just conceded it and said, let's play a second game. We can just play a second game. That's really the thing that Charizard
Why don't you
misses.
just play a sub-game? They don't want you to play a second game. They want you to play a sub-game.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like we're shuffling everything up here. Maybe it's a reactivation of the Helm. We'll,
Okay.
of course, let you guys know the final ruling here as soon as we have it on what exactly is going on. Complication from old cards. So, you know, sometimes it happens in Legacy. Sometimes it can happen.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to rewind. Here we go, one at a time. Aha. So now you stop and you get that, then you lose the Helm. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
And now we return to the game where David has Jace approaching Ultimate, Liliana approaching Ultimate, Karn in play, and an opponent in Ensnaring Bridge lock.
Again, anyone's game.
It's still up in the air.
That Mass could attack for 3 if David has 3. Never mind.
It's illegal.
Yep. That can't happen.
Cannot do it.
The fun part here is McDarby's trying to figure out what planeswalkers he's used. He has used Karn. He has used Jace.
Yeah.
Have I used Liliana yet? I don't think so. Okay, I haven't used Jace. All right. I'm going to Fate Seal you.
David's also up 1-0, so Brian needs to win this game in 3 turns just to get to a draw.
Yeah. I'm sure they have a slight time extension here, but
Right.
sure. I'm right there with you. Looks like we're going to take Liliana up. I would just go Ultimate. I would say Veteran Explorer versus. Just for pure theatrics at this point.
I want it back.
Yeah. Don't touch my cards.
Don't touch my cards. He says, fate sealing his opponent for the 5th time.
There is another shot in port. We'll find out how long the time extension is and everything else here, as it looks like the game stays cleared up.
Yeah.
Brian kind of shrugging his shoulders here, David doing the same. Look, I've got what I've got. You've got what you've got. McDarby gonna untap. Port's gonna tap down a couple of lands. And it'll take a few more turns here for Jace to go ultimate and finish things off here. Brian, game, just draws a card.
The second card.
Yep. For when the first one isn't quite good enough.
Right.
Yeah, an additional 4 minutes here. And then it'll certainly be over. The fun thing is that Nick Miller sat down with McDarby about this deck. How he came to these decisions, and everything like that. So that's kind of cool. And so now the Tarmogoyf die is being used. Karn gonna eat Karn. Oh yeah, I've been there. What's better than having a Karn, restarting a game with a Karn, Patrick?
Right.
Is the answer to your question. It's a very simple question. And I know firsthand, as there's a Fate Seal. Jace is up to 12. It's almost time to go Ultimate with the second best Planeswalker in Magic history. Excuse me. There's
We've run out of dice. This
Yes.
is one of the rare games where 7 6-sided dice are just not enough.
They have exhausted our resources.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes a real doozy. Oh, there it is. I think it's a Mother of Ruins.
Nice.
Yep. That'll change everything. McDarby almost to Jace Ultimate, almost to Karn Ultimate. But Embry will not wave the white flag.
No, not yet.
He will still battle on through the Planeswalkers. Gonna tap a couple of lands with Port.
Nice, good operations. David, don't cast that Ponder.
Yeah.
Do not cast that Ponder.
A little Fate Seal. McDarby says you can have that Mother of Ruins. That's fine with me.
Just plus the Liliana.
Cast the Ponder. Yes, yes. It's time to go digging.
Looking for help.
I think he should play the new Jace. That's what I think should happen. And he's going to draw a Misty Rainforest.
Okay, at least that was a fast Ponder.
All these Planeswalkers. Yep, that's fine. That's going to come into play. Take a draw. You draw another Mother of Runes, Brian. That's going to come into play. Pass the turn back, port a couple lands. McDarby going to Ultimate Jace now. I'm just glad we're able to get good use out of the Tarmogoyf die in a no Tarmogoyf matchup. That's my favorite. That's exiled.
Right.
There is no more deck to draw. Your turn. Sure. And that's going to do it. David McDarby's going to win this match over Brian Embry. 2-0, and that's almost certainly our last match of the round.
Absolutely.